Well, welcome to the Holy Land. We have something very, very special for you. We're going to be doing a walking tour of Old City Jerusalem. If you're thinking about coming to Israel or you want to just see the holy city of Jerusalem, this will be a very extensive video. We're going to be seeing well over 30 of the most important sites within Old City Jerusalem. So we're just going to go from place to place, showing you and taking you along with us on this journey here and seeing all of the sites. So I think it's going to be really, really special. We're going to be walking the Cardo. We're going to be going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We're going to go to the Western Wall. We're going to see the Tower of David. We're going to see many ancient ruins. We're going to be walking the traditional Via Dolorosa. So I think you're going to find this video very, very special. So are you ready to go? You guys ready to go? Well, let's go ahead and do this walking tour of Old City Jerusalem. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out to you guys is that this is the Jaffa Gate, okay? This is one of the most important gates into the city. This is where most of the people enter the city. It's on the west side, and it is absolutely beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and go through it here. Okay, so now we're inside the Jaffa Gate here. And so one of the first things that we want to point out to you is that right to our right here is the Tower of David. It's now a museum. It was a fortified protective site from armies attacking armies, but it was also the northern part of Herod's palace that he built. He built 3 towers. Then over the years, it's had a lot of renovations, but now it is an archaeological park. It is a museum, and it's really a good place to go. If you're going to come to Jerusalem and you want to see the lay of the land, that has a real good mini model of the layout of the city. It's really good. And so if a person's coming, it's really a good thing to go there, look at the layout of the city, you get a real good idea for it. Anyway, so that's the Tower of David. We'll get a roundup over here and we'll be able to see more of the Tower of David. It's really quite impressive. The Crusaders in the about 1100 AD, they built a moat around it, and you can still see the line. In fact, right down here is the line of the moat. Right here, they've kind of preserved it in this new road here. But you can see, we'll step over here and we'll look at this. You can see the moat and things here. See the side of the wall here. So down in this area was a moat, all right? So as we've talked about, this side of the city was a vulnerable side of the city, so it always had protective fortresses and stuff. So that's what this was a protective fortress. So we'll step on over here and we'll be able to see also just a little bit more. This is a great angle over here to look at the moat. You can see part of the moat around here. And this is part of one of the towers that Herod built. You see the Herodian stone up there? We've talked about that. So you can see the stone up there. So this is part of it. Of course, then up above it, that's from Crusader and beyond. But then this angled lower part is from the Crusader period in the upper part. You can see the difference in the stone styles. We're going to be talking a little bit about the layout of the city of Jerusalem. In 135 AD, the Roman Emperor Hadrian, he destroyed Jerusalem because the Jews had an uprising, and he rebuilt the city. And so the layout that the city has today roughly is the same layout that Hadrian designed. So it had a Cardo Maximus, had a Cardo Minor. The city was divided into kind of four main roads. You had the Cardo Maximus going north and south. Then you had this David Street that went east and west, and it would go down to the Temple Mount. Okay, but at the Temple Mount, Hadrian built over where the temple was, he built a temple to Jupiter. And then where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was, where Golgotha was, he built a temple to Jupiter and Aphrodite. So we're going to be going down now. We're going to walking this very important street, and we're going to be going down to the next site, which is actually the Rooftop Walk. So it is really a neat spot to go when you come to Jerusalem. It's just before you get down to the Cardo. And so we're going to go up on top of the city and kind of look at it from up on top. So that's going to be our next spot. But as we go, we're going to be walking on this David Street. We're going to be seeing a lot of shops and things like that. So the city is divided into four quarters today. Right here, this area is the Christian quarter. And then behind us over here is the Armenian quarter. And then down below to the left is the Muslim quarter. And then down below to the right is the Jewish quarter. Now, what's amazing is that David Street divides the city kind of in half, and then the Cardo divides it the other way. So going this way to the Cardo is the Christian quarter, and then past the Cardo, going down on the left of David Street is the Muslim quarter, and then going down this way on the right of David Street is the Armenian quarter, and then down below the Cardo on the right is the Jewish quarter. So these roads that Hadrian built, then they are going to be marking kind of the divisions of the city today. So it's quite amazing. So now we're going to go down David Street here, which was the main road going down to the Temple Mount. Okay, so we're going to pause here because I want to say something very, very important here. Okay, this is really off the charts important. Okay, so Golgotha during the time of Jesus was outside the city walls. Going this way right here, partway down, was a garden gate that went outside the city. So this area over here was actually outside the city during the time of Jesus. So then we're going to walk up here and check it out because it's so important to see. But up here a ways is the gate that probably Christ went through on the Via Dolorosa, we believe is the most biblical, that starts by Pilate's palace where Herod's palace was, going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So we're going to walk partway down here and we're going to see approximately where this gate would be. So you would go through this gate, it was called the Gennath Gate, which means garden, and you would go through that, and then out where Golgotha was at one point in time, it was a quarry, but it was turned into a garden. But it was a place where people would be crucified. It was called the place of the skull. So it was a place that was really prominent where crucifixions would take place. And the Romans would always crucify people in the most visible places because they wanted to instill the fear of Rome in their subjects, that this is what's going to happen to you if you get out of line. It was a very, very severe, very serious way of keeping their people in line. So we're going to walk this way here. So we would be on the approximate route then that probably Jesus would have taken. So at this point then, you would still be inside the city. Then as we come up here, at this particular point here, okay, look up there. Can you see the arch there? This is the approximate location where the garden gate would be. Okay, now let's walk through here. Okay, so now we are outside the city. Okay, we're outside the city. Okay, so there would be a gate here. Okay, so at this time, the city is going this way, and it's kind of an L here. Okay, so we come down David Street, and that's still inside the city. So right here, the city wall is going to go basically over here to the wall just this side of Jaffa Gate. Okay, so this would be the city wall. Okay, and then the city wall would go down here a ways, and then it's going to come over this way. And then, so again, Golgotha during the time of Jesus was then outside the city walls. Okay. Now it's inside the city walls. But the city walls that were enclosed were built about 10 years after Christ's crucifixion. Then they enclosed this part of the city wall so that Golgotha then was inside the city walls. But at the time of Jesus, it was outside the city walls. So from here on out, you're outside the city walls, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is just right over there, a short distance, really close by. We'll be going there later on in our tour today. Okay, now let's go back up here to David Street. Now, the next spot we're going to go to is we're going to go to this Rooftop Walk. Okay, so it's really kind of cool. The Jews use it all the time. It's in more of the Jewish quarter. And so you can go up some stairs, and then you can kind of walk on top of the city. Okay, so here's the access. It's on Chabad Street. So now we're going to go right up here and then go up on some stairs to the Rooftop Walk. Okay, so we're going to go up these stairs here. Also, you get a great view up here as well. So the different paths and stuff that you can take through here. We're just going to walk over here. We won't walk the whole thing, obviously. We don't have time for that today. This is a walking tour hitting all of the key sites around the city, old city of Jerusalem. And we'll just kind of go up here so we get just a little higher up. Okay, so just get right up here. So you can just see it's different routes and stuff that you can take. You can see the Mount of Olives. You can see the Dome of the Rock. And then over here behind us is going to be the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
So the steeple here?
No, that is a Lutheran church there. It's just beyond that a bit. We can step over here if you like. I think we can see it. We'll try to see it. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the one that has two kind of grayish blue domes. This is a great spot to kind of explain a little bit about the old city. We're going to get over here because I believe, yes, we can see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So right now I'm going to point out some things that are going to be absolutely mind-boggling. Okay? So this is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Okay? Now guess what road we're standing on right now? What would this have been? We are on the Cardo Maximus. right underneath us is the Cardo Maximus. You see the white rounded dome up there? That's the Hurva Synagogue now. The Cardo is just to the right of that. We're going to be seeing that shortly. So this would have been the Cardo Maximus going from the Damascus Gate all the way just towards the Zion Gate. It was the big, wide, huge wide with pillars on each side, with shops on each side, glorious. Cardo means the heart. But what Hadrian did is that where Golgotha was again, he built this temple to Jupiter. And where the temple was, he built a temple, false god temple. When Hadrian designed the layout of the city, he designed it all around where Golgotha was, the new temple to the false god. So right where Christ was crucified, buried, rose again, the most significant event in God's timetable of history, Hadrian puts a false god right over that. So then right here's the Cardo Maximus, and then right off the Cardo Maximus, you would go up to the false god temple that he built over Golgotha. So then later, when Constantine tore it down and built the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, then you still had the Cardo, and then you would go up to the church right off the Cardo going up. Today you go around it and come in from the side, but in the time of Hadrian, the time of Constantine, the Byzantine period, then you would come off the Cardo right up to it. Quite fascinating. How special, right? Pretty incredible. Okay, well, we're going to continue on. We got so much to see today. It's going to be such an incredible tour. It's really helpful to understand the layout of the city and how it has evolved, how it's changed over time. So we're going to go back down now. We're going to get back on the Cardo. We're going to walk the Cardo now. What's under us right now, we're going to be walking on. It's just a little bit to your left there. So again, if the city's crowded and you want to bypass the heavy traffic, you just come right up here, walk over it and down. You can go to the Western Wall from here. Okay, so now we are going to be walking the Cardo Maximus. Okay, so now we're on the Cardo Maximus. Right now, there's kind of two streets to it. Let's head down this way.
So this used to be much wider?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it used to be somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 20 to 30 yards or meters wide. You'd have your pillars, and then you had on each side of the pillars, and you would have shops on both sides of the Cardo Maximus. Of the Cardo Minor, which was down more towards the Temple Mount, you had shops on one side. And we'll be seeing a mural of that as well. All right, now then over here, these are some ancient ruins. Now these are in various stages. Here is part of the Hasmonean city wall, dating from around 167 to 63 BC. The columns you see are the columns of the western portico of the Cardo that Hadrian constructed, dating to around 135 AD. And the cistern here is from a later period after Hadrian. Okay, we're going to see more of the Cardo as we go along here. Up ahead are some amazing viewing windows where you can look down and see more ancient ruins of the city. Okay, as we're looking down here, you can see the ruins And these are dating to around 700 to 800 BC. And these would be ruins from the first temple period. Really amazing just to look down in here and see this. Incredible. So when you're in Israel, to see ruins that are 3,000 years old, 2,000, I mean, that's common. So you can see how the Cardo, you would have it a little bit lower, then you would have the steps that go up. So you had 2 rows of pillars going this way, and then off of it you would have your shops. So this was the Cardo Maximus. You can see how wide it was. It was a wide street going through the city.
The columns are very ornate.
Yes, very, very elaborate columns, pillars. You know, these are the original pillars of the Cardo Maximus. So these pillars here are about 1,900 years old, almost 2,000 years old. So this whole Cardo Maximus would be glorious with shops and stuff off the side of it. Then they've got some mosaics here showing life during that period. And we're going to walk up here now, and we're going to look at this mural, which depicts how it would have been. It's a great example of how it would have been. Of course, in a perfect scenario, this mural would be right here, because you can see how it is. These pillars here are these pillars, and then those over there would be these. But you can see how it was. And again, as we pointed out, you can see the columns where the beams would have been to cover the shops of the Cardo. And it was a happening place. It was busy. This is where the heart would be. What does Cardo mean? It's the heart of, right? That's why we get cardio, is your heart. This was downtown, so to speak. This is where the shops would be. This was your mall, basically, at that time. Yeah, they've incorporated a modern day thing there. Yeah, yeah.
That's the real level where it was?
Yes, absolutely. And you can see the original stones there. And then off of the Cardo, then there would be shops, elegant shops. One thing about the Romans, they were master builders, and what they did very fine. They were a very glorious kingdom, and so they displayed that glory through their construction. You can see the original layer here of the Cardo. Okay, so you would have another row of columns over there, a little bit lower, and then up here you'd have a street with your shops. But these are the original stones of the Cardo. These are the original stones, these big ones. These new ones here are later. They're just from modern time. Okay, so now we're coming, there's a large synagogue here. It's the Hurva Synagogue. It was recently built because before 1967, when the Jordanians were here, they destroyed all of the Jewish quarter. And so when the Jews then recaptured, then they were able to rebuild everything. So this is kind of a plaza. And so here's the Hurva Synagogue. One thing I will tell you, that right now there's a institute called the Temple Institute, and their purpose is to make all the arrangements for all of the details of the third temple, the new temple that will be built, in which the Antichrist will go into and declare himself as God. Right here's a synagogue. I'm going to show you something. You see that menorah there? That is solid gold.
Oh, wow.
And that will go into the new temple. The Jews' desire right now is to build their temple. Where do you think they want to build the temple at?
Mount.
Temple Mount, right where the Dome of the Rock is. How is the Dome of the Rock going to be able to come down and then build a temple there? I believe it's the Antichrist who makes this peace treaty that this Antichrist makes with the nations for 7 years. It's very likely that that peace treaty will include the Jews being able to build their temple. But right now, the Jews have everything they need to build the temple. They have all of the garments. They know who the high priest is. They have everything they need for the temple to go. And that temple could be built in a short time. They have all the layout. They have the architecture. They have everything. All they need is thumbs up and bang, that baby goes up. Yeah, anyway, that is solid gold. What's that?
And
That will go in the third temple.
is that where the red heifers that
Yeah,
are now
yep.
here?
Yeah, now they have the red heifers. Those are now in Shiloh. We might be able to see them when we go there on our tour. Okay, so you can see the debris here from Sukkot, the Feast of Booths. So now Sukkot is over. So now they're going to tear all this stuff down. All of their Feast of Booths, all the temporary tents and stuff, they're going to go ahead and take down. All right, so now we're going to go see Hezekiah's broad wall. And that is one of the most amazing stories in the Bible. It's so important, this story, that God has it in 3 places. He has it in Isaiah, he has it in Chronicles, he has it in different books of the Bible because it was so important. I'm going to go right over here. Okay. So, this is how the story goes, all right? In around 700 BC, the Assyrians are conquering the northern tribes of Israel. At that time, the nation was divided in 2 parts. You had Judah to the south, then you had what was called Israel to the north. You had roughly about 9.5 tribes to the north and about 2.5 to the south. The Assyrians were conquering city after city after city. And so Hezekiah, who was a king, and he was a godly king, he led one of the greatest revivals that Israel knew. Anyway, there were refugees that were just flooding from the northern part of Israel to Jerusalem. So what he did is he built this wall rapidly, and it was wide. That's why it's called the Broad Wall, because when archaeologists found it, they just named it the Broad Wall. But it encompassed the western side of the city of Jerusalem, because the refugees were just basically living out in the open, and Hezekiah wanted to protect them. So he protected them, and then he also diverted the water from the Gihon spring through Hezekiah's tunnel. He built a tunnel, you guys walked through it yesterday, down to the pool of Siloam, so that he could keep the water inside the city. So he was getting all ready for the Assyrian conquest. Sennacherib, who was the king at that time of the Assyrians, then went down around the south and conquered all of the cities in the southern part of Judah. Jerusalem was the only city left. Assyria had conquered everything. They were the world power, and they were atrociously mean when they conquered. They would put the fear of Assyria in you so that cities would just surrender in countries rather than fight. And so anyway, he comes up and he tells Hezekiah, I'm going to come conquer your city. And Hezekiah goes and prays before the Lord, seeks the Lord, and the Lord heard him. And then God sent an angel and killed 185,000 of the Assyrian troops in one night. So God spared Jerusalem. Later, unfortunately, in 586 BC, the nation would fall. They had these cycles of up and down and walking with the Lord and not. And so then in 586, then the Babylonians came and destroyed Jerusalem. Then the Jews would come back 70 years later, roughly, and then rebuild their country again.
Does it know how
high or how deep? It's pretty well. You can see the bedrock here. Basically, you see where the windows are? That was the height of it, of this broad wall. And he just built it really fast. In fact, it says in scripture, in some places he had to just build it over some homes. Some people just had to move out so he could build this wall. They built it in a hurry because Assyria was coming and he wanted to get ready. So everything he did was quite quick, but he didn't have to do it because God spared him, which is a great lesson for us, is that we trust in the Lord. We trust in the Lord. So anyway, they've discovered this and it's quite amazing. They've renovated it here and made access to it quite nice. Okay, well now we've got another special thing on our agenda. We're now going to go down towards the western wall. We're going to see part of the Cardo Minor, then we're going to see part of the southern stairs, then we're going to see some of the western wall. So we've got some amazing things coming up. So we're going to make our way down to the western wall area. So I want to point something out here, this sign. In Hebrew, there's a term called aliyah, which means literally to go up, but it's a returning home. So that right now there's a huge movement of Jews throughout the world that are returning to their homeland, to Israel. So this is a real estate company helping them get located. Okay. Thank you. So, good teaching lesson here. In the time of the Bible, then when you went up to the temple, there would be people that would be beggars. They would ask for money, right? Now, they're not going on the Temple Mount, but this is where the main access going down to the western wall from the Jewish community up here, the Jewish quarter. So, in the same way that in the time of Jesus or before, then people would beg for money, then today they're doing the same. Okay, so here you can see part of the Temple Mount, part of the western wall. Okay, step on over here. We're going to see more of this later, but you can see the western wall here. You can see the Dome of the Rock. That's where the temple would have been. We're going to go down here and see the Cardo Minor, though, and then part of the southern stairs area. Then we're going to walk back up along the western wall here and see all of this. So we'll be down in the western wall area. Do you recognize this spot, Joel? This is where we did a teaching about the different feasts of the Old Testament and how Jesus fulfills them today. Okay, so we're going to go down. We're not going to go into the western wall area. We're going to go outside of it because we're going to go down here first and see this Cardo Minor. We can see the original stones of the Cardo Minor.
So this is the dung gate.
Correct.
Is it on purpose close proximity to the temple because of the sacrifices that they would have to do?
Yeah, that's part of the reason. Also part of the reason is that in the time of Jesus, this was called the Tyropian Valley. Yeah, there was a valley that actually went down through here, so then it followed the lower part of the city. So it was a natural drainage area to begin with. Okay, this is the entrance into the Davidson Center Archaeological Park. We're going to take a right here, and we're going to be seeing the Cardo Minor. So the Cardo Minor means smaller. So there was the
Here's original.
right over here are original. Yeah, these are original. Yeah, these are original here. So these old ancient stones are the original of the Cardo Minor. So there was the Cardo Big Maximus, the Cardo Minor Small. So you can see how the Cardo Minor had shops just on one side. The Cardo Maximus, big one, had shops on both sides. So, and this one ran close by to the temple because on the Temple Mount, Hadrian built a false god temple.
How are they able to preserve this? Because look at it, it looks good.
Yeah. How can they preserve these stones? Well, they were buried for a long time. But then also these stones, this is limestone, when it gets exposed to the elements, it becomes hard. It just lasts forever. It just lasts forever.
So when first excavated, it's softer and they can work it?
Yeah, limestone when it's underground, it's softer, moist. They can chisel it, it's quite easy. Then when it gets above ground and exposed, and it will harden. It's kind of a God's kind of cement form, really. It's just miraculous, really, when you think about it. Okay, well, we'll walk down here, and we're going to step out now. We're going to go through the Dung Gate. We're going to step down, and we're going to see the southern walls and the southern archaeological area. Quite amazing. Okay, we'll go right over here. Like again, we're seeing all these amazing sites. There's so much history here. But the gate right here is called the Tanner's Gate because right in this area was a meat area where you'd buy animals and stuff like that. And so the skins and stuff from these animals, then these tanners would go ahead and tan. They would preserve them, make tents and all clothing out of leather is basically what it is. So anyway, this is called the Tanner's Gate. And then right over here is the Dung Gate. So we're gonna walk right over here now, and we'll go out the Dung Gate, and we're gonna go down to the Southern Stairs Archaeological Area. It's called the Davidson Center Archaeological Park. Over to our right is the Gavati parking lot. It's called now the Gavati Excavations. It's just right above the city of David. And they have found archaeological remains just going way, way back in time. It's probably one of Israel's most excavated sites going on right now. So the city of David is behind us. And this is what's called the Ophel or Ophel. This was the space in between the city of David and the Temple Mount. So there's the Temple Mount wall. And then you can see 3 gates over here. Those were the Hulda gates. Those were the gates that went up into the temple. And over to our left were some other gates just below the southern stairs. And that's where you would exit the temple. The only time that you would go up through the exit is if you were in mourning, and that would let everyone know that you are in need of compassion or you're in a state of mourning. And then people could show you mercy and help. So they discovered here ruins going clear back to the time of Solomon and beyond that time. There's also in this area around 48 mikvah, or the correct way to say it would be mikvot in Hebrew. Those are mikvahs, that's for ritual cleansing. So in order to go on to the Temple Mount, you have to be ritually pure. So a lot of people would purify themselves in the pools of Siloam. Yeah.
Watching you every time.
Oh.
Oh, I want to greet you. I'm happy for your program.
Oh, you're
My
welcome.
pastor. Sir, can you greet my people? Let's have the back
Okay.
here from the Philippines. Sir,
Okay.
please.
Okay, hello. I'm Todd Fink from the Holy Land Site YouTube channel. And you find folks in the Philippines,
Amen.
we love you. Thank you for watching so much. We're so grateful. We hope and pray that God really uses the teachings and all that we do for His glory. So we hope and pray that you are strengthened, that you walk with the Lord, and that you put Him first in your life, and your reward will be great. So thank you, and God bless you.
In such a time as this, thank you, Pastor. Thank you, brother.
Well, wasn't that special? Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord that God is using our humble service to Him. So then we had the southern stairs that ran all along here. They were also called the rabbi stairs. Why? Because the rabbis would teach their disciples on those stairs. It is extremely likely that Jesus taught His disciples on those stairs. So anyway, very, very important access. 48 mikvahs here, because in order to go to the Temple Mount, you had to be ritually pure. How would you become pure? Obviously by confessing your sins, but then you would have to go down into a mikvah. A mikvah is a pool of water. You'd go down one side. There would be steps going down one side. You go down and get clean. Then you come out the other side, now pure. So you go in unclean, immerse yourself, come out, and now you're clean. Now you can go up on the Temple Mount, because you can't go on the Temple Mount being unclean. That is the worst sin you can do. You have to be clean.
And the water came from Shalom.
The water for here, it would be water that came from Bethlehem through the aqueduct that Solomon and then later was built that supplied the Temple Mount. There are cisterns underneath, had a massive amount of water. But from the north, then you had the pools of Bethesda we talked about. They're on the north side. Those were living water pools that were made by diverting water from the Kidron Valley up higher and then bringing it to the pools of Bethesda we talked about. Also another pool there called the Pool of Israel. The amount of water that Temple Mount had is really staggering. Had no lack of water, had water coming from everywhere because it was important to have that. Jerusalem is on a mountain, is 2,500 feet and roughly around 900 meters in height. And so it's cooler up here. You get a lot more rain up here. And so, yeah, they had plenty of water. Okay, well, man, quite amazing. Okay, well, let's continue on. Okay, well, that was cool down there at the southern stairs area, right? Okay, right up ahead of us here is the Dung Gate. It's been redone here recently. It's a main access to the Western Wall area. But we're going to be seeing some rocks. We're going to be seeing part of the Western Wall excavation. So we're going to step up here now through the Dung Gate. We're going to see some of this amazing stuff. Okay, let's step over here, and I want to just show you some of the things here. This is Davidson's Archaeological Park, and the southern stairs are on the other side of some of these buildings that were built out here. Those were mainly from the Crusader period, but anyway, there's this wall and this rock road that we're going to see in a future tour here coming up in a few days, where the rocks fell down from the Temple Mount when it was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, and it's actually crushed the street. But this is the southwest corner of the Temple Mount, and on the very top up there, there was a stone that has fallen down that's been discovered that says to the trumpeter's house. So that was where the trumpeters would blow to the shops and to the area below that the Sabbath's about to start, or the whatever feast, whatever holiday. But anyway, that has fallen down. You can see the Herodian stones over there. You see that arch? That's called Robinson's Arch. Anyway, that was the main access to the Temple Mount. Then you had the southern stairs. So this is the western wall. There's part of it where the Jews pray at, but the western wall technically runs all the way from here all the way to the end of the Temple Mount. It's the western wall of the Temple Mount platform. This right here is the southern wall of the Temple Mount platform. All these buildings you're seeing right here were from the Crusaders and other periods that have been added onto the south face of the Temple Mount platform. Okay, so now we're going to go up here. We're going to go through security because we're going to go on to the western wall area here. So you have to go through security. They treat it like it's a synagogue, but because it's such an important religious area for the Jews, they secure it.
Okay.
Because also what you'll have periods where you'll just have thousands and thousands of Jews here. So if you get a terrorist or something, they could do huge damage. So we'll go through security here. It's quite simple. There's a guy's side, pardon me, and there's a woman's side. Okay, you can see the woman's side. So the women will go through that side, and the guys will go through the other side. Okay, so we made it through security here now. So we're going to head on up here. We're going to be looking at the western wall. We'll actually go down to the western wall, and we'll look up close at the stones. We'll see the prayer notes in the stones. There's also a synagogue that we're going to be going in. The gals can't go into it. The ladies can't, but the guys can. And so we're going to be looking at that as well.
Oh, I see that they dismantled.
Yeah, they're dismantling. That was
the holiday.
Yep. Sukkot is over. The Feast of Booths, the Feast of Tabernacles is over. So now they're going to dismantle all that. So yesterday was the last day of Sukkot. So this right here is the women's side right here. And then over here is the guy's side. We're going to be going over here shortly. So let's walk on over this way. So this is the Western Wall Plaza. And so right up here is the Western Wall. And so we're going to go down here now and check out the Western Wall. So the ladies can't go down into the men's section, but you ladies can, if you want, you can step over there. The guys, we're going to go down here and check this out shortly. Okay. And so why don't I take yours, and then you and Medium can go over that way, and we'll go over this way. Okay. I'm going to do some filming here. So as we're approaching the Western Wall here, you can see different layers. You can see the lower stones. Those are the Herodian stones from Herod's building time, 37 to 4 BC. And of course, then the construction continued on after him. But the lower stones, these massive ones, are from the Herodian, and they'll go up. You can see where the Herodian bosses change, and then you're going to go into the Muslim periods, and then you're going to go up above into the Muslim Ottoman period at the very top, and Suleiman the Great in that period. So you can see the stones big all the way up to small. So we're going to step over here, and so the Jews This is the closest, largest area that they can get to the Temple Mount. Some are going up on the Temple Mount now, but they have to walk around the perimeter. But most Jews, this is where they're going to come to. This is as close as they can get publicly in a large meeting area to their temple, to the Holy of Holies. And so they believe that if you put papers in the rocks, that God will hear those. And these are facts from all over the world, and people will put them in the cracks here and pray. You can see these papers in the stones here. And of course, over on that other side is the women's section on the other side of the wall here. So now let's head on over here. We're going to go into this synagogue. It's really quite impressive. They have libraries. This is where they'll come and study. There's the Mishnah, these different writings that they have. Here was an arch, and there was a road that went over the top of this up to the Temple Mount. So this is actually an arch that you're looking at right here. Went up to a road was up on top of it to the Temple Mount. And it's up above here where this aqueduct from Bethlehem would come to supply water on the Temple Mount. You can see a lot of old construction here. So they converted all this underneath here to a synagogue. Of course, here you have all these writings, these libraries. They're very studious. And the Mishnah and these different writings are like commentaries on the Torah, the Old Testament. Some people believe that the Jews forgot where their temple was. You think the Jews forgot where their temple was? They were commanded not to. They were commanded in the Old Testament not to forget. You forget me, O Jerusalem. So they did not forget where their temple was. They wrote about it, documented. Okay, now we're exiting this synagogue. We're going back out along the western wall. You see the ramp up there? That's the general access now, the only access for the general public to the Temple Mount. And there's restricted hours when you can go up on there, usually in the morning for about 3 hours and in the afternoon for about an hour and a half. But the Muslims have a lot of different access points where they can enter any time. Yeah, the Jews have given for peace. The Jews are always trying to make peace. And so they're trying to make these agreements to appease, and so they have given the Muslims the basic control. I mean, they police it and everything, but they've given them control, but they're getting more and more freedom to go up there, but there's a lot of tension. When the Jews go up there, they're escorted with police.
Okay.
They have to stay in the lower area. They can't get up anywhere on the platform that's raised above the Temple Mount because that's where their temple once was. They can't get too close to the Holy of Holies or it's like God's going to kill them.
Is that a special ceremony happening up there?
Yeah, there's, you can see up above there, there's a Jewish ceremony happening up there. Now, so we're in the times of the fall feast. So the fall feast started with the Rosh Hashanah, which is their new year. And then you have Yom Kippur. And then you have the Feast of Sukkot. So you have these successive holidays that are kind of back to back, really last almost for about 3 weeks. And so we're right on the tail end of them. Okay, well, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? Pretty special. This is a real important place within the Jewish quarter here and the old city. So now we're going to exit out of the Western Wall Plaza and make our way to the traditional Via Dolorosa. The route we're going to take is through the Western Wall tunnels. This will be absolutely amazing. It's a highlight of every trip to the old city of Jerusalem. Interestingly, the Western Wall Plaza is only 10% of the entire Western Wall of the Temple Mount platform. The majority of the wall is accessed by entering what is called the Western Wall tunnels. So let's go and experience this incredible place. This is absolutely amazing. At the beginning of the Western Wall Tunnel tour entrance is a room where the tour begins. Here, tour guides give an overview of the temple Solomon built, the temple Zerubbabel oversaw, and then the temple King Herod built. The history of the Western Wall is meshed in with the history of the temples that once resided next to the Western Wall.
So what they did was, they lifted their houses up on arches, raised their homes, and built them right in front of the Temple Mount. This is how the old city looks today. And if our group today would be flying around the Temple Mount area looking down, this is what we see. Here is the Western Wall outside. That's the area that we're familiar with. There is another open area of the Western Wall in the Muslim quarter called the Little Wall. But aside from these two open areas, the entire length of the Western Wall is hidden from view. And that's what brings our group here today on this tour.
After our overview of the temple and Temple Mount, we now head towards the Western Wall. Look towards your left. Do you see these arches? These are part of a row of supporting arches that once held up the Great Causeway. This is a massive bridge that connected the upper city to the Temple Mount. This structure, commonly known as Wilson's Arch, was built in around 20 BC as part of Herod the Great's grand expansion of the Second Temple. It supported a wide, elevated roadway that allowed people, especially priests and pilgrims, to cross the Tyropian Valley and enter directly into the royal stoa on the Temple Mount. After the Romans destroyed the temple in 70 AD, much of the bridge was ruined and eventually buried under debris. It wasn't until the 19th century that it was rediscovered by British explorers, and it's since become a major archaeological site, offering insight into Jerusalem's Second Temple period.
Now, we did not arrive yet at the Western Wall. Our next station is the Western Wall. And on our way, we're going to see a brand new synagogue. It was created here 2 years ago, right before COVID. We call it the Yitzhak Teshuvah Synagogue in the name of the gentleman who donated it. And it is the closest synagogue in the world to where the temple stood. We'll see the synagogue, and then we're heading down to the Western Wall. Please follow me.
Now we enter what is called the Great Hall within the Western Wall tunnels. This space has served many purposes throughout the centuries, possibly as a water reservoir or even a Roman bathhouse, and today it functions as an active synagogue.
Is the biggest stone in the entire Temple Mount. And I'm going to need to...
Walking along the Western Wall tunnel, what is known as the Master Course of Stones can be seen. These are some of the first rows of cut stones that support the temple Western Wall. The largest stone found in the Western Wall measures 44 feet or 13.4 meters. In length, longer than a Greyhound bus. It's almost 12 feet or 3.66 meters high. Its width is 14 feet or 4.26 meters, almost as wide as some highways. It weighs over 600 tons, equivalent to 200 elephants or 10 tanks or 2 747 jumbo jets, including people and their luggage. There is no machine big enough today to lift it. It was carved outside the city and then placed here. The stones were carved and placed with such precision that not even a credit card will fit between the joints. By comparison, the largest stones in the Egyptian pyramids are only 15 tons. Here we arrive at Warren's Gate, named after Charles Warren, the British surveyor who discovered it in the 1860s during his exploration of the Western Wall tunnels. Warren's Gate was once one of the original entrances onto the Temple Mount. It likely served as a private or priestly access point, possibly leading close to the Holy of Holies. This is the closest place along the Western Wall to where the temple used to be. It is therefore, according to the Jews, the holiest place in the Western Wall. Just 200 feet or 61 meters towards the east is where the temple originally once stood.
شغف لعالم أفضل وأكرم لمن أتقنوا الكرم شغف
Next, we walk through a narrow corridor known as the Ministry of Religious Affairs Tunnel, also called the Northern Passage. This part of the excavation was overseen by the Ministry of the Religious Affairs in the 20th century and includes the section beyond Warren's Gate. As you enter this passage, the first stones you'll see here are not Herodian. They date from the early Islamic period from about 661 to 750 AD, following the Byzantine era, when the region came under the Umayyad control. During this time, major construction and repairs were undertaken on the Temple Mount, including the building of the Dome of the Rock. As we continue, you can clearly see the transition between early Islamic stones and Herodian stones. The Herodian stones are massive, finely dressed limestone blocks used in the construction of the Second Temple complex. These stones are famous for their precision and size, some weighing as much as 50 tons. They were likely quarried from several locations around Jerusalem, including the area known today as Zedekiah's Cave or Solomon's Quarries, located beneath the Old City on the northern side. Beneath the glass viewing panels, you can see collapsed Herodian stones, physical remnants of the temple's destruction by the Romans in 70 AD. Next, the tiles of the original floor where Jesus likely walked are visible in the tunnel here. This is all just really special. The masons who laid the great stones to build the Western Wall chiseled the bedrock of the mountain to make them look like they were stones, but in reality, they are just the bedrock of the mountain upon which the Western Wall rests. Continuing along the Western Wall tunnel is a Hasmonean aqueduct built over 2,200 years ago, which was 200 years before the time of Christ. At the northern end of the Western Wall tunnel is the Struthian Pool, where water was stored for use in the city of Jerusalem. Part of the Struthian Pool can be seen beneath the Sisters of Zion convent, accessible via the area known as the Nuns' Ascent. The exit to the Western Wall Tunnel tour is located on the traditional Via Dolorosa near the first station of the entrance to station number 2. Okay, we're going to pick our tour back up here. The Lion's Gate is just down that way, but right here now is where the traditional Via Dolorosa is going to start, and we're going to walk it. Okay, we're going to wind up at what was Golgotha, where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is. There are 14 stations. 8 of them are outside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There's Station 9, which is right kind of on top of it, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So we're going to go inside that. Now, the Crusaders, when they came, they believed that the trial of Jesus took place at the Antonia Fortress. Okay, the Antonia Fortress was a large fortification that overlooked the Temple Mount. Its purpose was to keep things under control, okay, because the Jews would uprise. They would uprise, and so the Romans were here at that time, had control, and so they want to maintain control on that Temple Mount, because the Jews would go there, get worked up in a frenzy, and then there could be a revolt that takes place. So they had a lot of soldiers, maybe several cohorts of soldiers at the Antonia Fortress, probably around 1,000 or so soldiers, okay? So the Crusaders thought that the trial of Jesus took place here. And so then they marked out these different spots along the way. Now, some of them are biblical, some of them are traditions, okay? But we're gonna walk this, but I do wanna mention just about this Antonia Fortress. We are in the area where the Antonia Fortress would have been. It was huge, it was huge. And it, once again, overlooked the Temple Mount just right beside it. It had access right down to the Temple Mount, okay? So the Antonia Fortress right now, we're right in the middle of it. We're in the middle of it. We're going to go to stations 1 and 2 right up here and see this, okay? So we're on the traditional Via Dolorosa. When I say traditional, that means that this is the place that from around the time of the Crusaders has been the place that they have walked. I personally believe that the trial of Jesus took place at Pilate's palace, which was Herod's palace, just south of the Jaffa Gate. And we've been there and looked at that. The evidence is really overwhelming for that. But I will say this, when you come to Israel, there's a lot of places that are very authentic. We know exactly that these are the places because we have one thing built up on top of another. There's some things that are more traditional. Okay, so right here is the first station of the Via Dolorosa. Jesus is condemned to death by crucifixion. So traditional view is right here is where the trial took place and where Jesus is condemned to death by crucifixion. Let's go ahead and go in here. There's some churches and some things marking this place. We'll just step in. We won't look at everything because this is a tour of Old City of Jerusalem, but there is so much to see that we could spend the day in almost all of these sites. Right in this area is the believed place where the then trial of Jesus took place, and he's condemned to death by crucifixion. Right here in this area, according to the traditional view. Okay, and then we're going to walk up here a bit. Now, station number 2, you can access through here, but we're going to go out here and we're going to see it from the outside. But we're going to see the other side of station number 1 as well. Again, there's 2 discs. Each station is marked by a round disc. Okay, and I think we can get a look at it here. Now you can see the round disc there. Each station is marked by a round disc, and then up above it, it has some artwork of what maybe happened there. So you can see Jesus there in the middle. He's condemned to death by crucifixion. Okay? But then if we step right over here, we see another disc. So we have 2 number 1 side by side. Why? Because this is all the Antonia Fortress, and this is where Christ is condemned. Now, today, this is a school over part of the Antonia Fortress. It's a school, but there's an access where you can look out over the Temple Mount. It's quite amazing. Okay, so here's station 1. Station 1, Jesus is condemned to crucifixion. And then right up here, we see station number 2. And at station number 2, Jesus is given his cross to carry. Okay? Stations 1 or 2 are right beside each other. He's condemned and then given his cross. We're walking the Via Dolorosa, but we're going to see some other interesting places as we walk. And I'm going to be showing you some interesting artifacts and things. So right here on our right is the Nuns' Ascent. It's the Sisters of Notre Dame de Zion, okay? And down underneath, you can go down underneath and you can get on the level of the street during the time of Hadrian, during 135 AD. You can get down and walk right on it. Right up here in front of you, you see this arch. This is part of an arch you can see. It was a triple arched gate. Big arch, small arch on each side, kind of like what we saw at the Damascus Gate. Okay, same thing. This right here, when Hadrian rebuilt the city, this is the main east-west corridor. And so he's going to have this elaborate arch system coming into it. So it's quite amazing. Okay, so we're going to continue our way on. So this is today, this is called Ecce Homo Arch. Ecce Homo, which in Latin means behold the man. Why? Because the Crusaders thought that this was the place where where it says, behold the man. But later we discovered that it was an arch from Hadrian's time, 100 years after the time of Christ. Okay, but today it's known as Ecce Homo Arch. Okay, so right here what we have, it's closed right now, but you can go in here and you can look through glass and you can see the one side of the arch. There's other accesses to see the other side of the arch, but just picture a triple arch. One big one, two small ones on each side. Main entrance into the Aelia Capitolina, the new Roman city that Hadrian built. So Hadrian destroyed the old city and rebuilt a new Roman city. Now, this is closed right now, but right here is supposedly a dungeon where he was at. Okay, so we're on the Via Dolorosa. We've seen stations 1 and 2. We've learned about Ecce Homo Arch, which was Hadrian's arch into the city, the Roman city. We're going to be going by where the wall of Jerusalem would have been during the time of Christ. We've talked about how Golgotha was outside the city. We're going to be showing you exactly where the two gates were. We already saw the Gennath Gate, right?
Right.
We're going to be seeing the other entrance or wall line that shows that Golgotha was outside the city walls. Okay, so here we're going to take a left. This is the route of the Via Dolorosa. And I want to show you something up here that's quite amazing. Do you see the stones here? So these were stones that were brought up from down underneath from the time of Jesus and Hadrian. They were brought up and then placed up here, just so you can see kind of what they look like.
So regional?
Yeah, these are original stones that were brought up, excavated, brought up, and then placed here. And now what we're going to see is we're going to see stations 3 and 4 of the Via Dolorosa. Okay, so at station number 3, Jesus falls the first time. And then number 4 is tradition, is where Jesus meets his mother. Station 4, you can see right here, they're right beside each other. So this is where Jesus would meet his mother. Now, as I mentioned, some of the sites, some of the places are biblical, some are traditional. All right, so stations 3 and 4. Now we're going to walk up here to station 5. And then at station 5, we're going to be walking uphill because Golgotha was up. Okay, and then right here is station number 5. What happens at station number 5? Simon of Cyrene then takes Christ's cross. It says in Luke 23:26, and when they led him away, they seized a man, Simon of Cyrene, as he was coming in from the country, and placed on him the cross to carry behind Jesus. So this is station number 5 of the Via Dolorosa. Then, because Jesus has been beaten so much, he's lost so much blood, that he is basically in a state where he can't even carry his cross. So then Simon carries it for him. So now we're going to go up. Okay, so now we're coming to station number 6. Okay, station number 6. This is a traditional site. According to tradition, there was a woman named Veronica, and she felt compassion when she saw Jesus carrying his cross. She gave him her veil so that he could wipe his forehead, and then Jesus supposedly wiped his face and then handed it back to her with the image of his face miraculously impressed upon her veil. Veronica means true image in Latin. So this is traditional. So like I say, some of these are traditional, some of them are biblical. Continue on now to station number 7. But before we get to station number 7, we're going to see where the walls of the city once were during the time of Jesus. Okay, so I want you to look at some things here. You see these stones here? You see how ancient they are? See these stones here? This is the believed place then where the city walls were during the time of Jesus. So now, we're right now inside the city walls. We go through here and now we're outside the city walls. Golgotha once again was outside the city walls. So we saw the Gennath Gate where you went outside the city walls. We see here from this direction, we're going outside the city walls. Yeah, we're standing within. We go through and now we're out. So the wall is running this way.
And we were much lower back then.
Yes, yeah, that's why you can see this arch and stuff here, yeah. Okay, now we're going to go up here to station number 7. Okay, so this is station number 7. This is a traditional place, and it's at station number 7 where Jesus falls the second time. And at most of these sites, there are churches marking the place. There's a small church here marking this place. Okay, now step up here. What road are we on? What road do you think we're on right here?
So this is
Cardo Maximus. Now we're on the Cardo Maximus. Of course, back then it's going to be wide and huge. Now it's smaller, but it's the Cardo Maximus. And the Cardo Maximus then is going to run, and then the Golgotha, or the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, is going to be right off it, accessed by it. We're going to see some amazing things up here. Now we're going to go right up this short street here, and we're going to see station number 8. So station number 8 is right up here. Okay, so at station number 8 is where Jesus meets the daughters of Jerusalem, and he says, "Don't weep for me, weep for yourselves." Then he prophesies about what's going to happen to the city. It says, Jesus turned to them, saying, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bore and the breasts that never nursed." So he's going to prophesy that the coming destruction of Jerusalem, which was going to happen 40 years after Christ, 70 AD. And it was an ugly, ugly conquest that the Romans did. They boxed the people in. They were hungry. They would eat bird dung. The women would eat their children. It was just absolutely horrific. It took them about 3 or 4 months for the Romans to finally get in. But it was gruesome. Hundreds of thousands were just killed. It was quite a slaughter. They were taken as slaves. It was very ugly, and unfortunate. Wouldn't have had to have happened. They rejected their Messiah, and Christ says, "The days are coming because you did not recognize the hour of your visitation." Okay, so now we're going to go back down to the Cardo Maximus. Then we're going to walk along it, and then we're going to be coming to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But as we're getting there, I'm going to be pointing out to you where the access would have been and everything, and how the layout was. Okay, so now we're back on the Cardo Maximus. We just came up, the city walls are over there. So now we're outside during the time of Jesus. Now, right now we're walking on the Cardo Maximus that Hadrian built at 135. And when he built the layout of the city, once again, he built it centered around where Golgotha was, because over it is where he built the temple to Jupiter and Aphrodite. Okay, so let's walk now the Cardo Maximus that Hadrian built 135 AD. But during Jesus' time, all of this again is outside the city walls. Okay, so we're going to pause here, step right up here. This is the Cardo Maximus, and then you would access the temple that Hadrian built from here. All along here would be an access to the temple that Hadrian built. So the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is just right up here. But before the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was built in 135 AD, then Hadrian builds this temple over Golgotha. So you have the Cardo Maximus that runs along it, and then you go up to this temple. The Roman city that Hadrian built is centered around this temple, built right over Golgotha. And then Constantine is going to tear down what Hadrian built, and he's going to build the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But the Cardo Maximus is still here, and you access now the Church of the Holy Sepulchre from the same Cardo going this way. Now we're going to walk up here, and we are going to see the station number 9, and then we're going to walk up on top of part of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Quite amazing. Let's go. And then we're going to come back this same route, and we're going to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but we have to walk around now to get to it. So in Constantine's time, the church was quite large. And so we can see the church right up here ahead of us. We're coming to station number 9. So it's kind of technically not in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but it's right behind it, because right there is a Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Look over here up. Look over here. You can see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre right there. And here's station number 9. And we're going to walk through this gate up here in a moment, this door, and we're going to be on top of the eastern side of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So at station number 9, Jesus falls the 3rd time. So at this point now, as we've talked, some of the sites are traditional, but when we get to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, they are absolute fact. Humbly said, I don't see how any reasonable person who does any research can deny this is the authentic place of Golgotha, because we have evidence going clear back in time and eyewitnesses that declare this is the spot. Okay, so now we're going to do something amazing. Let's go in here. We're going to take a left. Here in a moment, we are going to see the foundational wall of Hadrian's temple to Jupiter and Aphrodite that he built. Okay, so come on in here. We'll go against the wall here. The church that Constantine built would have started way before where we're at right now. See the dome right here?
Yes.
That is over what's called the Chapel of St. Helena. Helena was Constantine's mother. She converted to Christianity first, and then she had influence on her son, who was the Roman emperor, and so she was the one who persuaded and was kind of the mover to build many of the churches in the Holy Land. Church of the Nativity, Church of the Annunciation, Church on Paternoster Church. So this right here, there's a chapel down underneath here that we're going to see shortly. Yeah, we're on top of part of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So in Constantine's church, it would go farther this way. It was big, and you had kind of a church part, then you had an open area where Golgotha was, where Christ was crucified, and then beyond that, then you would have another area where the tomb was at. Okay, so this is the layout. So once again, the Cardo is running north and south. The church right now is facing east, and you access the church right off the Cardo. Go back in time to Hadrian. When he designed the city once again, he built the Cardo Maximus, and then he had over here, he had the temple to Jupiter and Aphrodites.
Outside. And the wall there, that marking that looks like an arch there. And then on the further walls there, other arches. Was this covered at one point with another church of some sort?
So what you're seeing today is from the Crusader period, because the Muslims tore down what Constantine built. And then the Crusaders in about 1050, 1100 AD, then they're going to rebuild the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So they design it differently. And again, now you access it from the other side. You have to go around to access it. And we're going to be doing that. We're going to be going back and then going around to access it. Okay, so now we're going to make our way back, and then we're going to go inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We're going to see stations 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then we're going to go see the foundational wall of Hadrian's temple, platform he built, and we're going to see Helena's chapel. So anyway, a lot of amazing things. On our full tour that we do, we'll be doing a full tour of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is a walking tour of the city of Jerusalem, so we can't see every site to its fullest. Okay, so we're going to pick up our tour right back here. We've walked down from the upper part of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So now we're coming back down. Of course, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre would be accessed to our left. And so we're going to go back down here to the Cardo Maximus. Now, as we're walking along here, there's something I want to point out to you. Hadrian, right beside this false god temple, he built a large plaza, an open area. What for? For worshipers to gather that are going to go to this false god temple. So there's this huge plaza right beside the temple that he built that was right out over here. And we're going to be walking up through that plaza as we return back from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So just imagine, Church of the Holy Sepulchre right now is on our right, and then his plaza would be on the left. Now this isn't it right here, this is new. But the plaza back in Hadrian's time was right out over here, right beside the temple he built. Again, a large area because the temple he built was the center of the city, built right over Golgotha. So here you can see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We're going to go through this little arch here. And now we are at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They are doing some renovations here, always doing renovations. Okay, so the Church of the Holy Sepulchre now is right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and go inside, and we're going to talk about stations 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then we're going to look at the wall of Hadrian's platform that he built. It's not the walls of the actual temple he built, because he built a platform, and then on the platform he built the temple to Jupiter. But now, station number 10 is right here. It's outside. Station number 10 of the Via Dolorosa is where Jesus is stripped of his garments. Okay, so right beside this station 10, we're going to go inside and go up on top of Golgotha is then where Golgotha would be. So in the time of Jesus, Golgotha is outside the city, and it was a quarry at one time, but then later the quarry kind of went into abandonment, And so in its place was built a garden, and then there was burial tombs here. And inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre are burial tombs from the 1st century period. So there was different kinds of burial tombs at different periods in Israel's history. The burial tombs during Jesus' time were different than the burial tombs previously. And so what we find here are burial tombs from the time of Jesus. So that tells us that this was outside the city because people weren't buried in the city. Kings could be buried in the city, but the regular people, they did not have graveyards inside cities. Again, that tells us that Golgotha was outside the city. So station number 10 is right here. Do you guys want to go up there and see it from the outside? Let's go ahead and go up here and see it from the outside. Good, thank you. Doing good. Okay, so this is station number 10. Now it's not open, but you look through it and you can just see this is station number 10 where Jesus is stripped of his garments. And we're going to be going inside and we're going to be able to see the actual rock of Golgotha. So we're going to go inside the church. We're going to go to our right because Golgotha is right up here. Okay, so we're going to go up these stairs here. So we are climbing up on top of Golgotha. Okay, so then right in front of us is station number 11. This is where Jesus is nailed to the cross, and you can see a picture of it there. So right here is where he's nailed to the cross. Station number 11. Okay, then we're going to step over here. We're seeing some amazing things here. And once again, this is the place. So then right here is station number 12. This is where Jesus then is on the cross, and then this is where he dies on the cross right here. Now you can see some ancient stones. You see this bedrock here? You see this white rock? That is part of Golgotha. That's part of the stone of Golgotha. That's original bedrock stone of Golgotha. We know that it was a quarry, so this is evidence of that. Now there's a hole right here that we can look at, and you can actually put your hand in that hole and you can touch the stone. Okay, so this is station number 12. Jesus dies on the cross. And then station number 13 is then where Jesus is removed from the cross. And that's in between stations 11 and 12. And it is right here with this picture of Mary in it with her heart pierced. She would be grieved by all that happened. So right here is then station number 13. Then we've looked at this stone here. I want to show you something over here. Can you see this crack in the stone? That is believed to have been caused when Jesus died on the cross. It says there was an earthquake. And so it's believed that right here is where the earthquake actually broke the rock. Sometimes people have a hard time with the way it looks, but we have 2,000 years of time that's gone by. We have, the way they decorate things. So you just have to kind of look past. Some people have a problem with the Church of the Holy Sepulchre just because of the way it's adorned. But you just have to set that aside if you don't like it and just think about the things that did happen. And we have diagrams, we have photos of how it would have looked like. It's like I say, it's a little bit different, but just imagine you've got a rock quarry here. You've got a garden, and then just over here, we're going to walk to actually where the tomb was. The tomb was really where he was crucified, and where the tomb is were relatively close together. And that's biblical because it says in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden and there was a new tomb. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go back down Golgotha, and we're going to be looking at some of the stone now underneath right here. So we're going to go down and look underneath where Golgotha is and look at it from below. So we were just up there. So now we're going under or beside Golgotha. We'll step over here. Okay. And now you can see the bedrock of Golgotha here through the window. And then you can see part of the bedrock here of Golgotha. So now let's step on over here. We're going to get another side angle of Golgotha, ancient stone. Okay, so here you can see more of the ancient stone of Golgotha. Okay, now we're going to go down into the Chapel of Helena, and we're going to see the wall of the platform that Hadrian built to this false god temple that he made. Now, all around the church now are little coves or little areas, nooks, depicting different things that have happened at the place here, different events of the crucifixion and things like that. In another video, we'll be talking about that. So now we're going down to this chapel, and understand when you came off the Cardo, then you would come up to this Temple Mount platform, and then you would come up to Golgotha as well. If you look on the walls as you're going down, what do you see? A lot of the crosses. Those are from pilgrims, ancient pilgrims who have come and put a cross here. Okay, so this is the Chapel of Helena. Do you remember that dome we saw when we were up on top of the church? That's it. We were just up on top of here. But do you see this over here? This down here? This was from Hadrian's platform right through here. So what date is this? 135 AD. So we know at 135 AD that this was known to be Golgotha. We also have in a room right over here, there is a writing from early Christians dating even before this that says, "Yes, we will go, Lord." This down here, this was from Hadrian's platform right through here. So anyway, this is the Chapel of St. Helena. And then down underneath is a place where you can see bedrock, and also where it's believed that the cross of Jesus was found. Helena claims to have found it. No, this isn't original from the time of Constantine. This would be later. You can see though, this is from Crusader period. You can see the architecture is Crusader. Pillars, the columns are Crusader. Okay, we're going to go up now to station number 14 and see the tomb of Jesus. We'll actually go inside it. We'll do a little explanation there. Okay, so then right up ahead of us is the tomb of Jesus. We'll step up here. Okay, we'll get an angle right here. Now, this is nothing what it looked like during Jesus' time, okay? This has been built, rebuilt a number of different times. Unfortunately, Hadrian destroyed much of the tomb. The Muslims destroyed much of the tomb, so there's not a lot really of the tomb, although they have gone down underneath and they can see evidence of it. There is part of the bedrock stone that is preserved in there. We'll go inside. There's part of through a window you can look, but it is where the tomb was, but this is all new, and this is elaborate to protect it. Once again, people coming here have a hard time with all this, but you have to just kind of set it all aside and just go back in time and just think, this is the place. If it wasn't the place, why would all this be here? If it wasn't the place, why do we have so much history going way back to these early Christians, right after the time of Jesus? We have all the evidence here. So wherever Golgotha is, has to have evidence of buildings and ruins around it. And this has it all. And like I said, there's eyewitness accounts. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go inside the tomb. Okay, you guys ready to go in? The first part of the tomb is called the Chamber of the Angels. There was kind of two parts of the tomb. So you go into the first part here. This is the tomb. This is where Jesus is going to be buried. And then 3 days later, he's going to rise from the dead. There would be angels here to roll away the stone. So right here is, just think about it. All that happened right here. Absolutely amazing. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is the monumental event in all of the course of history that shows us that we, like him, are going to be raised to live a new life, eternal life. Okay, well, we are going to now go back out and we're going to pick up our tour outside at the Plaza, and then we're going to be walking through what would have been Hadrian's Plaza. Okay, and then we're going to make our way back up to the Jaffa Gate. So we got some amazing things to see still, all right? So let's go ahead and pick up our tour outside. Okay, well, that was amazing, wasn't it, to actually see inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, all these things. We're going to continue our tour on now, and we're going to be walking through what was Hadrian's Plaza. So we mentioned right beside Hadrian's temple that he built to these false gods, And right beside that, he had a huge plaza for worshipers to come to, because again, the temple Hadrian built was the center of the city, the Roman city he built that he called Aelia Capitolina. Then he renamed the country Palestine, which was a derivative of the Philistines, because he was trying to erase all presence and memories of the Jews to their homeland, because the Roman Empire was tired of all the Jewish uprisings, all these revolts, the 70 AD revolt, other revolts. So now we're going to be walking right up through here. So this would have been the plaza over here that Hadrian built.
Very wide.
Why is it wide? Yeah, so today it's quite wide. It has an open feel, so it's a sense in which the plaza that he built still kind of is here a little bit. It's still, there's an essence of it here. So things are just more open through here. Then we have up ahead of us a round fountain-like adornment structure. Hadrian's Plaza would come up into this area over here. Now this isn't from Hadrian's time at all. This is just built here later. But his plaza would have come up to this area here. Once again, it was huge. So the temple he built over Golgotha was the center of the city. Cardo ran right by it. Everything was laid out. First, we choose where we're going to have our temple. Then we lay out the city based upon that. So he chose to build the temple over Golgotha, buried it, but it was later revealed. He didn't know he was preserving it. And that what he did provides us with another layer of evidence. This is Golgotha. Little did he know, God frustrates the plans of the wicked. Now this is a church right here. This is a church dedicated to John the Baptist, right here. Okay, and where are we? Okay, we were here at the beginning of our tour. Yeah, this is the road that went through the Garden Gate. The Garden Gate would be right in here. So then the city wall would be coming here. So now you would be outside the city wall going through the gate here during the time of Jesus. Okay, and then amazing? Okay, so let's head back this way now.
Shalom.
Shalom. Now we are back at David Street. And now we're going to walk up to the Jaffa Gate. We have one last thing to show you before we end the tour. And it's going to be quite interesting. I think you're going to find it quite amazing. Okay, so now we're coming out into the open here by the Tower of David Plaza. See the Jaffa Gate ahead of us. Got one last thing I want to show you up here. Okay, so I'll set you up for this last thing we're going to see. So Suleiman the Great, in the Ottoman period, about 1535, he rebuilt all the city walls, okay, because they were broken down. And when he inspected, this is how the story goes, when he came to inspect the walls, he was deeply bothered that the engineers didn't include the city of Zion. They left it outside. He was bothered by that. So, see these two tombs here? The story goes that he had the engineers executed because they did not follow his orders. That's how the story goes. There's other versions of the story as well. Well, this concludes our tour. We hope you enjoyed it, and those of you watching by video, we hope that you found this meaningful as well. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and may God richly bless you.
Hey, hey, hey.